Hi, welcome to Margaret Country Crafts and Miniatures. My name is Catherine and I'm back. I always say this, I am back. I am back. I am back with another video. Today we are doing a DIY miniature Victorian room. So all my Avon miniatures that I've been showing you, I kind of want a little display to put them in, something that matches the theme of the Victorian Regency era. And hopefully we're going to do that. So I'm starting off with this Make Market room display, this blank room display. I got this from Michael's craft store. It was about like $15. Has a beautiful arched window in one of the sides. And I'm just going to attempt to put it together. It's just 3 panels, so the floor and then 2 walls. And at first I wanted the window to go on the right side of the room display, even though the picture showed it being on the left side. But then I realized, oh, maybe there's a reason why the picture did show it that way. And so I put it on the left side like the picture showed. And it did fit a lot better. But I'm just going to put the 2 walls together first so that we can then slide it into the base of it, the floor. And I did add a little bit of hot glue just to make sure it was sturdy. And I got this value pack of wooden coffee stirrers off of Amazon. You can get these that are a little more rounded at like Dollar Tree. But I wanted these ones. These ones had more of a square end to them. And I'm going to use some Aleene's tacky glue as well. And I'm just demonstrating how I'm going to be using these to create some wood flooring across the base. And you may see that there's already some like diagonal little indentations on the base, on the floor of this DIY room. But I don't want to use that, and it's more of in like a parquet. Is it a parquet? I don't know. It's in a different kind of pattern than what I'm looking for. I want to do just a traditional wooden slatted floor. And so I just cut them down to a shorter length that we're going to have the floorboards be. And I'm going to use my Aleene's tacky glue. This is a really good glue. It's very strong, dries pretty quickly, and keeps your items in place pretty well. I'm just going to sand down the edges a little bit so that they're not so sharp. And this is where I took out my mini table saw. So my mini table saw, I didn't want to cut each of these stir sticks one by one. So I decided to group a bunch of them together in a stack and cut the stack of them all together. And just using my little handheld vacuum to pick up the dust. So I started to use a paintbrush for my tacky glue just so I can get a good coverage on the floor of it. And I'm gonna lay down all the cut wooden stir stick pieces into a floor pattern. So you want to like offset some rows so that they don't perfectly line up with the row before it. We want to get that traditional slatted wood floor look. Adding more glue. This was a tedious task, and this is about the point where I regretted choosing this route to make my own wooden flooring. It did end up pretty good. I do wish I had painted the original floor base like a brown color or something darker, because the white does end up showing through some of the slats of stir sticks. But I've sped it up for you so that you guys don't have to go through this tedious task. But just know it was pretty tedious. But luckily, being able to cut all the pieces down in bulk, that was a huge time saver. And all in all, was able to get it done. Definitely within a day. So don't worry, this is not a multi-day project. But it was a time-consuming one. And these stir sticks, so some of them, they were more angled than other ones. Like some of them were very wonky. So that caused a lot of gaps in between the wooden stir sticks. I'm just replacing one that was just refused to glue down and it had kept sticking up. And the little final pieces, and don't worry about the edges that touch the wall, because I'm going to be using this mini wood floor trim that I got off of Amazon. But first we have to stain our newly pasted down wooden stir stick floor. And this is a wood tint from Folk Art. And I'm just gonna paint it all over the stir sticks so that we can stain our new hardwood floors. Now it does say that you can wipe it off as well, which I did for some spots. I did find that I wanted the dark color, so I painted it on pretty thick on most places. I do wonder if the glue that I used, the Aleene's tacky glue, I wonder if that affected the stain, because then the stain wasn't able to seep into the wood because the glue was perhaps in the way. So it does look a little splotchy. And just rewinding a bit, I showed you this paper pack that I got, $10. I got it from a convenience store, so that's why it was so pricey. But it's a big paper pack and it's for fall, but it has some great colored cardstock, and this is what we are going to use for the walls of our room, because I think it'll look like a painted wall. And I'm going with the green one just because the miniatures that I have in mind that I'm going to set into this room, I think it'll go best with the green color. But I did try out like a brighter red and a plaid one, but I think we're going to go with the green one. And so I'm just laying it out against the wall, and I'm going to take a pencil and I'm just going to make a rough outline on the back of this green cardstock. And I'm gonna take my Fiskars paper trimmer. This gives me nice straight lines most of the time. If I've angled the paper correctly, if it's all lined up correctly, it does give you really nice straight lines and a nice cut. So now we have cut it down to the size of our wall. There's a little hint at what it's going to look like, but how we're going to attach it is we're going to use this double-sided tape, this really thin double-sided tape, and I think I got this from the dollar store most likely. And I'm just going to put a line of it down the sides, the top, and the other side, but I'm going to not put a strip along the base of it, just because one, I think it'd be too hard to line up and it'll get stuck and then I won't be able to adjust it. And then two, because we're going to be placing our wall trim over top anyways, so it's going to be secured down on the bottom anyways. And double-sided tape is so easy. We just smooth the cardstock right on, and look how seamless this wall looks. This looks like an actual painted wall. Now onto our wall trim. So it's white right now. That's how it came. I got it off of Amazon. I'll make sure to link that in the description box in case you want to get a package for yourself. And so this is where I decide to take acrylic paint to this, and then because this texture on the outside of this wall trim is kind of waxy. It has a wax on it, so it was hard to get this paint to be opaque on top of it. I had to do quite a few coats, using my heat gun in between to hopefully speed up the drying time. But I did have to do a lot of coats, and I was trying to match the green that we already have on the wall of our one wall. And this is where I realized, oh, it's a little bit of a brighter green than what we have on the wall. So I took some of that wood tint that we used on the floors, that I used. I keep saying we. I sometimes say we because it's, my channel. But anyways, I put some of the wood tint on top of the green, which darkened it up, which I think it now looks a little bit closer to the wall. And I'm just taking out my table saw again, just so I can cut down my painted trim. And I'm going to take the hot glue and try to, as neatly as I can, put it down into the corner and line up my trim. And now we have our floors and our wall, our floor and wall connected in a nice way, and all those imperfections along the corners are all covered up now. So that's one wall done. Now we have to repeat that for the second wall. Now this wall is a little bit more trickier because we have the window. We have the arched window. But I'm going to go through the same steps of tracing it out onto the cardstock. Just with a pencil. And back with the paper trimmer. And I kind of drew out roughly where the window is. This is just for my own visual. It didn't really help me in the long run, but I wanted to draw that out to see where the window was. So we're gonna put down more of the double-sided tape onto the wall. And put down our green cardstock on top, covering up the window, but that's okay. We are going to get that back. Now, there was some ridges around this window, and I tried my best to feel it through the cardstock, but the cardstock is just so thick. So I did trim around the window where I knew where the window was. And so I'm just putting down the trim and cutting off the trim for the second wall, gluing that down and trimming it off. If you're liking this video, please like it. If you would like to subscribe, I would love that. Please subscribe. And please turn on the bell notifications so you know when I upload. And then I'm going to use more of the trim, but I'm going to leave it white this time because it's going to match the color of the window, because I'm going to leave all the window parts white. So I'm going to trim down the trim. Or molding. Is it called molding? Or is it trim? I'm not quite sure about the terminology, but I'm going to use the word trim for this because it does sit on the trim of the wall. But I'm going to use the white trim pieces to make like a molding around the window. And you'll notice I still have some green coloring inside the window. This is where I take my X-Acto knife and I kind of cut it down so that green is not inside the window and we just have white. I used Aleene's tacky glue for these trim pieces because I wanted to be able to shift them around and move them before they're actually set down. And there we have our window. I do put some white paint on the edges of where I cut the trim, just so that it all blends in. But now we're going to go on to this paper pack that I got from Dollarama. It has some very vintage looking little die cut paper pieces all throughout it. And I thought this would go great with the theme of our miniature Victorian room. So it even has some Victorian looking trim pieces, but I was going after mainly the photos. I liked all the vintage old-timey photos. But they did have a very white contrasting edge to them because they're die cuts. So I just took some green paint and made sure that they blended into the wall a little bit more, just the edges of them. This one was a quote, and this one says, "To see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in a..." Yeah, and the rest I can't read. But if you know that quote, let me know of the full quote in the comments. And I'm just going to glue that down to the wall, our first green wall. And I found one that's a map. And I'm kind of staggering them in 3. I'm going to use 3 photos. Later on, I do wish I had maybe lined them up a little bit more because some wall elements that I'm going to add kind of got in the way of the photos, but all in all, it looked great. So I have this piece of fabric that I got from Value Village. I actually included this in my shop with me video from a few weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, where I found this at Value Village, and I thought the pattern on this scarf was perfect for like a Victorian Regency kind of style. So I cut out the pattern that I really liked of it. But because I'm not a seamstress, I didn't know how to properly keep the edges from fraying, so they were fraying. And I didn't like how unfinished it looked. It did look like just a piece of cloth rather than an actual rug. So I have this metal trim that I've had for a long time, and I believe I got it from Dollarama. But it looks very ornate. This one has a bunch of palm leaves like kind of coming off of it, but I thought it looked very ornate, very Victorian, and thought it would be a good edge to this rug, to this miniature rug. So I'm just gonna apply some hot glue. And glue down my rug on top of it so that we have a nice edge. You will notice there's some brown on it, so maybe at some point in the past couple of years I had tried to paint it, but I'm not going to leave this silver on the rug parts. I'm going to paint it brown so that it blends in a little better with the red rug, because it is red and like a beige. There's our 3 sides, and we just have to do the last side. So once that is done, as I said, I want the trim of the rug to be brown, just so that it blends in a little better with our rug, our fabric of our rug. So I'm going to paint them all brown. And just very lightly. I do still want to keep all that texture on the rug. And that same trim, I thought this might look good on the walls, as a trim on the walls. I decided to put the leaf looking one on the top, and this other one that I have, it's a metal trim piece as well. Oh, it's from Dollar Tree. If I said Dollarama, apologies. It's from Dollar Tree. This, it's more of like a ribbon, ornate looking ribbon. And I'm going to put it through the center of the walls, just as like a little ornate paneling or like a border. And I'm going to just leave them silver. I do think the way it reflects looks nice off the wall. And I'm just going to cut off some of the leaves that were from that metal trim. And I'm going to use them as extra little wall decor pieces. And I'm just going to do a little upside down, right side up, little little pattern across the wall to fill in that space above that picture. See, this is where I wish I had made the pictures a little bit more in a straight row rather than in the V shape. And I did the same on the other wall too with the little leaves. But there we have it. We have our miniature Victorian regency style room for my Avon miniatures, and I chose this piece. This is the Victorian Memories bedroom set. But the fireplace I just bought at Michael's craft store. It was about $15, kind of pricey, but I had a coupon. But that was it also in my shop with me video. So if you saw that video, you saw these pieces before this video came out. And don't you feel special for that? I hope you do feel special for that. That means that you're watching my videos, and I really appreciate that. So we have all the little details, the trim at the top of the wall, the quote that I don't know in its entirety because I can't read the rest. And yeah, I did get, I think, a little bit of glue on this wall a little bit, which upset me, but don't look at it. You don't see it. It's not there. And it fits all our miniature pieces well, and the fireplace goes well with the window, which we also kept white. But yeah, thanks so much for watching, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this video and seeing how I transformed this display room for my Avon miniatures. Make sure you comment down below. Make sure you watch my prior videos where I did my shop with me. And I hope you have a good one, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good one. Bye-bye.